Greetings everyone, I'm Captain Pankaj Pahil, and with 17 years of experience training pilots all across the globe, I'm here to guide you through the exact intricacies of the DGCA syllabus. Today, we are focusing specifically on search and rescue or SAR operations.
The ultimate measure of a pilot is not just mastering the aircraft, but mastering the discipline to save a life when the skies turn unforgiving. I really want you to let that sink in. Welcome to today's Ground School Explainer. Let's look at the boards and dive right into the technicalities of this massive, life-saving responsibility.
Now, we operate on a strict zero-skip policy here for your DGCA exam prep. So today's agenda covers Section 1, SAR Services and Regions, Section 2, Indian National SAR Provisions, Section 3, SAR Aircraft Equipment Requirements, Section 4, Pilot and Command Operating Procedures, Section 5, Air and Ground SAR Signals, and finally, Section 6, SAR Satellite and Agreements. All right, let's get into it.
Section 1, SAR Services and Regions. Let's establish our foundational concepts by defining the exact playing field where these search and rescue operations actually occur.
So as a basic regulatory procedure, what exactly is an SSR? Conceptually, a search and rescue region is an area of defined dimensions associated with a rescue coordination center or an RCC. Now that RCC is what coordinates all SAR operations within that specific area. Functionally, in real-world application, whenever you're flying, you will always be operating within one of these specific grids. And here is your first DGCA exam tip. Memorize that an RSC, a rescue subcenter, is strictly subordinate to an RCC. It's just established to complement the main center based on specific local needs.
Moving to a critical safety limitation, and this is absolutely vital. The whole concept here relies on continuous, unyielding coverage. SAR regions must be contiguous. That means zero gaps between them and absolutely no overlapping is permitted. Why? Because it completely prevents jurisdictional confusion during a crisis. The practical application is that a distressed aircraft is always in exactly one clearly defined jurisdiction. Your DGCA exam tip here is a non-negotiable ICAO standard. SAR services must be provided on a 24-hour basis, 365 days a year. No exceptions, no days off.
Moving right along to Section 2, Indian National SAR Provisions. So taking this from global standards down to local application, we really need to understand the exact hierarchical chain of command governing Indian airspace.
Looking at India's macro-level SAR responsibility, conceptually, the government of India holds the overall responsibility but divides up the execution. The application of this structure means that land areas fall under NASARC, that's the National Aeronautical Search and Rescue Coordination Committee. Oceanic areas, on the other hand, are governed by NMSRB, the National Maritime SAR Board. Here's your exam tip. Clearly distinguish their chairman. The Secretary of the Ministry of Civil Aviation handles land areas, while the Director General of the Indian Coast Guard handles oceanic areas. Do not mix those two up on test day.
Drilling down a bit further into regulatory procedures, the concept here is regional delegation. The Airports Authority of India, or AAI, coordinates the aeronautical side. In practical application, they utilize 4 specific RCCs established at the Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai flight information regions. Now listen closely for your vital DGCA exam tip. The boundary of the Indian Aeronautical SRR matches the Indian FIR boundary exactly, with one highly testable exception. It excludes the portion of the FIR that sits over the sovereign territory of the Kingdom of Bhutan. Commit that specific exception to memory.
All right, Section 3. SAR Aircraft Equipment Requirements. Let's literally get inside the aircraft now to examine the actual hardware and communication tools you are legally required to have on board when functioning as a dedicated SAR unit.
Looking at standard operating procedures and equipment. Conceptually, you need to find the target and you need to talk to them. So obviously, you must have homing devices for distress frequencies and specific aeronautical distress communication setups. But practically, over maritime areas, the application gets incredibly tricky because of the language barrier with international ship crews. So your DGCA exam tip is this. When used over maritime areas, SAR aircraft must carry a copy of the International Code of Signals. This is to overcome language difficulties with vessels down below. It's a highly testable point, so watch out for it.
Now let's talk about actually delivering aid. The concept is providing immediate sustenance to survivors before ground rescue arrives. When executing a supply drop, standard operating procedure dictates a very strict visual color code so survivors know exactly what they're recovering from a distance. Your DGCA exam tip is simple but vital. Always associate the color blue exclusively with dropped containers containing food and water.
Moving to Section 4, Pilot and Command Operating Procedures. Listen up, because this is arguably the most crucial phase of our session today, defining the absolute, non-negotiable actions that you, as the pilot in command, must take during an active distress scenario.
Please take note of this critical safety limitation. The core concept here is that order must be maintained in the air to prevent mid-air collisions over a chaotic crash site. In application, if you happen to be the first non-SAR aircraft on the scene, you hold the critical safety responsibility of taking charge and commanding the airspace for all other arriving aircraft. Your DGCA exam tip: you maintain this command until a dedicated SAR unit arrives and officially relieves you. You don't just circle once and leave, you are the on-scene commander until relieved.
Now, what happens if you merely intercept a distress transmission on the radio while flying? The concept is rapid relay and assistance. When applying standard operating procedure, use the mnemonic RABIP. Acknowledge the transmission, record the position if it's given, take a bearing on the transmission, inform the RCC or ATS unit, and proceed to the position at your discretion. Here is a major exam tip, though. You must execute all 5 of these steps. Yes, but there's a major regulatory qualifier. You do this if feasible. You are not legally obligated if executing these steps genuinely jeopardizes your own flight safety. Safety first, always.
All right, Section 5, Air and Ground SAR signals. Because, radios fail, visuals do not. Once you are on the scene, establishing undeniable visual communication with both survivors and surface rescue crafts is absolutely mandatory.
The concept here is directing a surface vessel, like a ship, without using a radio. The operational application requires very specific flight maneuvers. If you circle the ship at least once, cross their projected course close ahead at low altitude, and rock your wings, you are telling them, hey, follow me to the distress location. Conversely, crossing their wake close astern at low altitude means they are dismissed. Your exam tip: crossing the wake astern equals assistance no longer required.
So, the crucial point is, how does that ship actually talk back to you? The concept is visual acknowledgement. The green application is when they understand and can comply. They'll hoist a vertical red and white code pennant or flash a Morse code T. The red limitation is if they cannot comply, they will hoist the international flag N, which is a blue and white checkered square, or flash an N. Your DGCA exam tip? Flag N is a very frequent multiple choice distractor. Just remember, N stands for negative, or an inability to comply.
Now, looking down at the ground, survivors need a way to communicate with you. The concept is utilizing basic shapes that are easily recognizable from altitude. In application, survivors will construct symbols at least 2.5 meters long, using fabric, wood, or even trampling snow. Your vital exam tip here: memorize these core survivor symbols. V stands for require assistance, and X stands for require medical assistance. I always tell my students, just remember, X marks the spot for a medic.
Dedicated rescue units on the ground use more complex regulatory symbols. The concept is providing detailed status updates to airborne coordinators. To secure these points on your exam, apply these memory aids. LLL means the operation is fully completed. Think of 3 L's as a complete set. LL means we have found all personnel. XX means we cannot continue and are returning to base. X means stopped. And NN means nothing found, continuing to search.
Once you see those ground symbols, you absolutely must acknowledge them. As a standard operating procedure during the day, you simply rock your aircraft's wings. During darkness, you flash your landing lights or navigation lights exactly twice. But pay very close attention to this exam tip. If you fly over a signal and do nothing, it legally means the ground signal is not understood. A lack of signal is an active declaration of non-understanding in the eyes of the regulators. Finally, Section 6, Satellite SAR and Agreements. Let's look at the modern technological backbone supporting all of these regulatory frameworks we just discussed: satellite-aided search and rescue. India participates in the COSPAS SARSAT system. The concept here is Global Satellite Distress Beacon Detection. The regulatory application is that this system operates on the 406 MHz frequency, providing a location accuracy normally right within 5 kilometers. India has local user terminals located in Bangalore and Lucknow. Your definitive exam tip: know that the IMMCC, the Indian Mission Control Center, which connects to all 4 RCCs, is located right in Bangalore.
I'll leave you with this crucial question to test your readiness. If you intercept a distress call right now, are you completely prepared to shoulder the ultimate responsibility of a pilot in command? Are you ready to assume control of the airspace and flawlessly execute that ARBIP protocol to save a life? Because ultimately, aviation is about discipline. Study hard, review these concepts, and I will see you in the next explainer session. Keep this guy safe.